Yeah, this is funny. It's Kamala had to confirm him. Which
Members of the House and Senate are gathering in what is there, and there is the Speaker Mike Johnson and Vice President Kamala Harris. It's obviously a bipartisan or even nonpartisan event where the leaders of this country come together to count the electoral votes. There's Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas, who was one of the main individuals who helped cause what happened 4 years ago by putting forward the falsehood that the vice president could somehow do something to stop the electoral count. There's Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries with Catherine Clark, his number two. What are your thoughts as you watch this in action, Caitlin?
Ted Cruz obviously was the first senator to object. And obviously, you know, just looking back on this.
Yo, what up? How you doing?
What the vice president maintained at the time, as Mark knows well, was that he did not have the power to block the certification on this day 4 years ago.
And he didn't.
What we have seen is the Electoral Count Act that was passed reaffirming that interpretation of the law. So people like John Eastman, who Pence later referred to as
don't tell me they go through the whole thing on here.
Attorneys that Trump was listening to at the time could not make that argument. But also it changed the threshold for how many people have to object to lead to that moment. So even if we were in the exact same situation as 4 years ago, had this law been passed, the threshold would have had to have been much higher than what it was 4 years ago for that to actually happen.
Let's listen in. Vice President Harris is calling for order.
Congress, pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Senate and House of Representatives are meeting in joint session to verify the certificates and count the votes of the electors of the several states for President and Vice President of the United States. After ascertainment has been had that the certificates are authentic and correct in form, the tellers will count.
Isn't she just so lovely?
And make a list of the votes cast by the electors of the several states. The tellers on the part of the two houses will take their places at the clerk's desk.
You know, I just think it's so important.
I love her little, like, Joker smirk. What do you guys really think if Kamala would have won? I'm not going to lie. There would probably be a lot less anxiety. It's... Joe Biden and Kamala were more like kindergarten teachers, okay? And now we have, like, the angry football coach. Do you know what I mean? The angry history teacher running the school. But they wanted to keep the world at like a chill recess kindergarten vibe. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, dude.
To reflect on what we are seeing right now. We talked at the beginning about this complex being fortified, but it's being fortified despite the fact that this is peaceful.
Objection, the tellers will dispense with reading formal portions of the certificates after ascertaining that the certificates are regular in form and authentic.
This is just like something they have to do they've just been doing for years that you don't really need to do. So it's like all these people had to fly out to D.C. to just sit here and... Elon Musk is trying to kill all this stuff, which... I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
Will announce the votes cast by the electors for each state, beginning with Alabama.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Alabama seems to be regular in form and authentic, and it appears therefrom that Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida received 9 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 9 votes for vice president.
Okay, I see what they're doing. Like, that's how many votes the states are worth.
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral...
Basically what's happening right now, the tellers alternate reporting on the authenticity and the proper form of each of the certificates and the number of votes designated for president and vice president, and then each teller records the results on a paper tally sheet. And then at the end of that, reading all results from all 50 states and D.C., the tellers then compare the results on their 4 tally sheets and all sign all 4 tally sheets. Then the vice president announces the result totals and announces the election of president and vice president. So they are going to be reading through each 50 state and the District of Columbia.
Madam
Results
President,
from Ohio,
the
there,
certificate
obviously,
of the electoral vote of the state of Ohio.
JD is funny, dude. He's just chilling there. I think he's having a blast, to be honest with you.
Madam
Results
President,
from Ohio.
Look at him. He's cheesing because he's the co-star.
There,
certificate
obviously,
of the electoral vote of the state
He's got nothing to worry about.
J.D. Vance,
seems to be
back with the team here in New York as we continue to watch what is going on to the counting of the ballot from each of the states. Congressman, you were there 4 years ago. Is it odd watching this?
It is. Well, the funny thing is, we were kind of talking offline here. I was present for 12, 16, and then 20, obviously that thing. And usually, this is a non-event. I mean, I would go, kind of show up, they'd open the session. Half the time I'd go back to my office because you don't even need to be on the floor. And this is over in an hour. And that's how it should be. This is great that it's happening this way.
They all got to fly there. That's so crazy.
But
I would not want a job like that. I don't want a job where I have to be forced to fly places and stuff like that. Forever I was like, I just want to go be a touring musician. And I'm like, dude, I do not want to tour. Maybe a couple times in my life or something like that. But dude, I do not want to go on mass tours.
For me, it's surreal because my attention on what January 6th is obviously has been colored by what January 6th was 4 years ago, that I forgot how quick this actually happens and how really perfunctory it actually is. So this is a good thing today.
Perfunctory.
Again, the new incoming president will make the decision whether he wants to move on from January 6th or not. I'm fine whatever he decides. I think
perfunctory is an action carried out with a minimum effort or reflection.
The country would be better off if he did. But yeah, it's good to see this happen today.
Do you think January 6th, years from now, is a date that will live in infamy? To use the phrase used for other events, I'm not comparing it at all to.
I think we live in split screen America. I think for some of the country it will, and it'll be remembered. I think otherwise.
I like that split screen America. It's like half of the people are looking at one screen, the other. It's like we're watching the same TV show, just explained different on different platforms that have more bias towards one angle, but it's the same thing.
It'll fall to the history books. And the reality is this. Most of the country did care. It rubbed them the wrong way. They didn't like it. That showed up consistently in polling, but it just didn't rank in the top issues at the end of the day. And I think this was such a historic and wild election cycle, and so many other dynamics entered the last 4 years that in many ways the events of January 6th were eclipsed.
Yeah, all a lie. It's totally all a lie.
And there's a certain privilege involved. I acknowledge it with myself in being able to say, well, I'm a voter against January 6th. I'm voting this way because that day crossed the boundaries for me. But if you feel like the cost of living is too high, the border hasn't been secure, groceries cost too much, and you think that a different candidate, you think Donald Trump's better on that, then that's who you're going to vote for. And we saw that. We were all covered, the Republican National Committee.
I don't know now.
That was the direction this was all going. Then Joe Biden gets out of the race and opens up a complete new dynamic.
It's going to be content. People like me, my job is easy now. You got someone making content every single day. Kamala is a robot. I don't know what she is. She's someone that will do things for money, for sure. I can see her selling herself out really easily.
It will honestly end up being, for many people, a footnote in the history book.
The state of the vote for the President of the United States, as delivered to the President of the Senate, is as follows. The whole number of the electors appointed to vote for President of the United States,
you have to have, 250 something?
Is 538. Within that whole number, the majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris
she has to stand there and she's bowing like she won. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's being as classy as someone could be. It's like she's not even trying to throw shade. She's just accepted it. She got an opportunity so many people haven't been able to have. So, good for her, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, guys.
Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
Look at that. She's like, okay, look. Slime balls.
The whole number of electors appointed to vote for Vice President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, a majority is 270. The votes for Vice President of the United States are as follows. J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio has received 312 votes.
There he is, dude. There's his moment. The boy. I don't know. I actually like his attitude over everyone's. Because it's funny because he's about to take her spot. And that's a crazy shift. Crazy shift of energy. They're both smiling though. It's like they're having a happy day for some reason. They're having
Tim
a happy,
Walz
happy
of the
day.
state of Minnesota has received 226 votes.
Slimy, yeah, they're slimy as fuck. No doubt about that.
This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected, President and Vice President of the United States, each for a term beginning on the 20th day of January 2025, and shall be entered together with the list of the votes on the journals of the House and the Senate. Thank you very much.
That is so funny that she had to do that. I'm surprised they're not making a bigger deal out of that and like trying to clown her, but I guess there's no reason to really clown her. She's not a threat anymore.
All right, there it is, the final gavel coming down there, and Donald Trump has secured 312 electoral votes to Vice President Harris's 226 when she announced the winner. The Republicans.
I don't know. I don't know if Trump's the right choice. I think everyone's just fucking obnoxious. And, yeah.
Stood up and gave a standing ovation for the victor, Donald J. Trump.
Of the
and
having been concluded pursuant to Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 2, the 119th Congress, the chair declares this joint session dissolved. Thank you.
Dissolved.
The joint session has been dissolved. A lot of grace there by...
I love their terms. Political terms. Yo, this meetup's dissolved. We got a dip.